Days have passed since Shams dropped the bombshell, and honestly, I'm still in shock. So is the entire NBA world, including Luka's father Sasa, who blasted the Mavericks for their secrecy and accused them of hypocrisy.
Razumem, pridejo momenti, ker se ne strinjaš z neko filozofijo, ne paše ti ta igralec, ne paše ti si igralec, vse to lepo in prav, ampak mislim, da glih ta neka tajnost, oziroma bom rekel kar strani nekaterih posameznikov, mogoče hinavščina celo, da to pa me osebno boli, ker mislim, da se Luka absolutno tega ni zaslužil.
And Dallas fans? Furious doesn't even begin to cover it.
Supposed to have a statue! Dirk got a statue right there, it's supposed to be Luka right there!
Coffin appearance may have won the day on social media.
Why? Why? Why?
Hundreds have canceled their season tickets. The team's Instagram page lost over 700,000 followers overnight. Fans literally held a funeral for the franchise outside the American Airlines Center in protest over this trade. Their message was loud and clear.
You gained a little weight, so what? So what? We got finals last year, so what? You can eat all the Big Macs or whatever the fuck you.
Who cares if Luka put on a few pounds? He just took them to the NBA Finals. He's earned the right to eat wherever he wants. Mavs GM Nico Harrison might need security just to walk around Dallas after this trade.
This is a heartbroken fan base, and there have been some very unfortunate developments regarding that anger, that angst. Nico Harrison has been subjected to death threats. There have been racial epithets included in some of those. Certainly security is going to be beefed up.
And did you see Jason Kidd in that press conference? The man looked like he wanted no part of it. Dallas just did the unthinkable. They just traded a 25-year-old Luka Doncic, a generational superstar, a top 3 player in the NBA, and last season's scoring champ. Sure, he's a little plump, but does that really matter? This is the same guy who single-handedly humiliated the top-seeded Phoenix Suns in Game 7 of the 2022 Western Conference semifinals on the road. Luka didn't just dominate, he matched the entire Suns team, dropping 27 points in the first half alone. He hit ridiculous shots over their best defenders, laughed in their faces after every bucket, and completely shattered their confidence, just days after Devin Booker mocked him for flopping in Phoenix's Game 5 blowout win.
Get up, boy! Get up, boy!
It was so one-sided, the game was over by halftime. Twitter had a field day roasting the Suns. Oh, that game also gave us one of the most legendary sports memes of all time.
This shot will hang on permanent display in the Museum of Ass Kickings.
This is the same guy who just carried Dallas to the NBA Finals.
Finals are almost in their grasp. 3 minutes to go.
Took down a stacked Wolves team that humiliated the defending champs, outdueled a rising star hailed as the next Michael Jordan, and buried an all-time playoff dagger over 4-time Defensive Player of the Year Rudy Gobert.
Got it! What a shot! Dallas has taken the lead!
He's that good, and the wildest part? He's just entering his prime, and in return, they got 31-year-old Anthony Davis, an elite big man, sure, but a guy so injury-prone that even NBA 2K has a built-in animation of him getting hurt. How did this happen? Why did Dallas make this move, and what does it mean for the future of the NBA? Let's break it all down.
Maybe the most stunning trade, definitely that I've been a part of.
This trade is unlike anything we've seen in NBA history. No leaks, no rumors, just pure shock. Nico Harrison and Rob Pelinka pulled it off in complete secrecy. Even Luka had no idea. He had just bought a $15 million home, only to find out he was traded.
This dude just bought a $15 million house, just closed like last week in Dallas.
Reports say he broke down in tears when he got the news. At his Lakers introductory press conference, Luka addressed the shock.
I was almost asleep, so when I got a call, I had to check it was April 1st. I didn't really believe it at first. And it was a bit shock. It was hard moments for me. It was home.
And he wasn't alone. According to reports, neither Anthony Davis nor LeBron James saw this coming either. Anthony Davis was at home in LA, texting congratulations to his teammates after their win over the Knicks. Meanwhile, LeBron James was out to dinner in New York when his phone rang, Rob Pelinka on the other end, delivering the news that would shake the NBA. I'm not sure I buy this report, because let's be honest, LeBron is the de facto GM in LA. Remember, it was LeBron who pushed for the Russell Westbrook trade, which ultimately broke up a championship core fresh off a bubble title. Nothing happens in La La Land without the GM's approval, so take that report with a huge grain of salt. Kyrie Irving is still processing the trade, or as he put it, grieving. It's still a grieving process right now. I miss my hermano. Luka was a huge reason he joined Dallas in the first place. Normally, blockbuster trades come with warning signs, disgruntled superstar reports, agent leaks, front office whispers. Look at Kevin Durant, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Donovan Mitchell, Anthony Davis, and LeBron James. Every big trade in the last decade has a buildup. But this one, no one saw it coming. It was so out of nowhere that Shams had to tweet twice, just to confirm his account wasn't hacked. Even he admitted he thought it was fake when he first heard the news.
Take everybody through everything they need to know. How in the wide, wide world did we get from where we were Saturday morning to where we are now?
Yeah, I mean, I thought my phone was hacked when I got the text messages with the details of the trade and when I got wind of the deal. But you peel back the curtain, and for the Mavericks, they honestly internally believe that this move puts them in a better position to win a championship. Get in the
lane and finish. He missed the first, able to put it back, and you can feel.
Oh no.
Uh-oh.
Oh no.
Uh-oh.
This trade wasn't some last-minute shocker. It was a month in the making. According to ESPN, Nico Harrison and Rob Pelinka met at a Dallas coffee shop on the morning of January 7th to hammer out the details.
A viewer saw the story and shared this photo. And there you see Harrison and Lakers GM Rob Pelinka huddling at Ascension, having their first meeting to construct the Luka trade.
These two go way back, long before they were NBA GMs. As young execs, they earned the trust of a Lakers legend, Kobe Bryant. Pelinka was Kobe's agent. Harrison, the guy who convinced him to sign with Nike when he was a sneaker-free agent. Now, years later, their connection just changed the course of the NBA. The Mavericks were so desperate to move Luka that they didn't even inform him or his agent, fearing a media leak. Every negotiation happened strictly between the two. Even Mavericks head coach Jason Kidd was completely in the dark about the trade. According to Legion Hoops, Mark Cuban tried to step in at the last second to stop Nico Harrison from trading Luka Doncic. By the time Cuban found out about the Luka for AD trade, it was too late. Dumont never approached for advice. Sources say Cuban urged Harrison not to go ahead with the swap, only to find out that the deal had already been sealed with the Lakers by verbal handshake. And I believe this report because this Cuban quote from 2020 has resurfaced. Normally, when a team trades a superstar, they shop him around, letting teams know he's available to spark a bidding war and drive up his value. But that didn't happen. If a high-level role player like Mikal Bridges commanded 5 first-round picks, imagine what Luka, one of the best players on the planet, could have fetched. Nico Harrison specifically targeted Anthony Davis, convinced that his defensive presence could turn the Mavericks into a championship contender. His reasoning? Defense wins championships. But here's the problem. History says otherwise. Even with a healthy Anthony Davis and LeBron James, the Lakers were a disaster defensively. And back in New Orleans, Davis couldn't carry the Pelicans deep into the playoffs, failing year after year before forcing his way to LA. Why on earth would you trade a 25-year-old franchise player who just led your team to the finals, won the scoring title, and made first-team All-NBA 5 years straight, solidifying himself as one of the league's best players? Superstars like Luka don't just fall into your lap. When you get one, you do everything to keep them. Yet, during his press conference, Nico Harrison's reasoning was, at best, vague and at worst, completely baffling. He claimed the Mavericks targeted Anthony Davis because of his culture-setting presence in the locker room.
Jay Kidd and I, we've had a vision in the culture that we want to create since we've been here. And the players that we're bringing in, we believe exemplify that. This is the same superstar who quit on New Orleans when things weren't going well
demanding a trade after signing with Clutch Sports to team up with LeBron James. His other justification?
And, we think defense wins championships. Defense wins championships.
Since Davis was one of the few players to make both the All-NBA and All-Defensive teams, he believed AD was the perfect fit. Let's not forget, this is the same guy who couldn't even box out Steven Adams in a regular season game against Houston.
It's a bit of both. I don't think that we wasn't boxing out. Steven Adams is a big guy, strong. I know several times I tried to face guard him.
This is the same guy who pushed the Lakers front office to get a center because he refused to play the position himself. One of the reported reasons they were ready to move on from him. But let's be real, that's irrelevant. No sane GM trades a 31-year-old star nearing the end of his prime for a 25-year-old generational superstar. In today's NBA, truly dominant big men are rare, so if AD is supposed to be one of them, why won't he play the 5? Sure, Anthony Davis puts up impressive regular season numbers, but when it mattered most, he had no answer for Nikola Jokic, getting dominated by the 3-time MVP in back-to-back postseasons. And here's the problem. Denver isn't going anywhere. They're still in the Western Conference, meaning a Dallas-Denver playoff showdown is a very real possibility. Plus, let's not forget Davis has a tendency to disappear in big moments. He was inconsistent even during the Lakers' bubble championship run, and their Western Conference Finals appearance a few seasons ago. Another head-scratcher? Nico Harrison admitted that he and Jason Kidd had discussed the type of player they wanted.
But Jay Kidd and I are aligned, and we talk about archetypes, and we talk about the culture that we want to create. So I know the type of players that he likes without actually talking to him.
But he never actually consulted Kidd before making the trade. That's standard practice for most GMs, yet Harrison went rogue. And if you saw Kidd's face during the press conference, it said everything. He did not approve of this trade. And his message to frustrated fans? Well, let's just say it didn't exactly inspire confidence.
I'm sorry they're frustrated, but it's something that we believe in as an organization. It's going to make us better. We believe that it sets us up to win not only now, but also in the future. And when we win, I believe the frustration will go away.
Oh, no. Uh-oh. Oh, no.
Here's where it gets even more confusing. Dallas already has 2 non-shooting bigs in Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively. Now add Anthony Davis, another below-average three-point shooter, and suddenly the floor shrinks for Kyrie Irving.
6-1 to double, he traveled.
Then came the reports about Luka's conditioning, suggesting he had ballooned to 270 pounds. But let's be real, this has been a talking point for years, and he's still performing at an elite level. Even NBA executives are scratching their heads over this trade. One Eastern Conference exec summed it up perfectly, telling ESPN, "You better make sure his body's going to fall apart." And let's not forget, Luka isn't some undersized 6-foot guard who relies on speed and athleticism. He's a 6'6" point guard with a linebacker's frame, dictating the game at his pace, no matter who's in front of him. Opponents can't speed him up, no matter how hard they try. Just ask Jaden McDaniels, a 6'9" All-NBA caliber defender who was helpless against Luka's dominance in the Wolves series. Overweight superstars aren't exactly unheard of. A fat 31-year-old James Harden still got the Rockets 4 unprotected first-round picks and 4 pick swaps. And if you follow NBA history, one of the greatest rebuilds ever came when the Boston Celtics traded their aging championship core, Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce, to a desperate Brooklyn Nets team looking to contend. The return? A haul of draft picks that turned into Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, the duo that would later lead Boston to the 2024 NBA championship. The closest trade to this? When OKC shipped a young, pre-beard James Harden to Houston for Kevin Martin, Jeremy Lamb, and 2 first-round picks. Looking back, that trade was a disaster for OKC. Their young core never made it back to the finals and ultimately fell apart. The reason? OKC didn't want to pay Harden the max contract he wanted. Sound familiar? Because according to reports, Dallas wasn't willing to commit to Luka's 5-year, $345 million Supermax extension.
$354 million. I got to say,
but they're billionaires, though. I mean,
I know. How do people
made us to
billionaires?
$32 billion. I know, but I'm just because they keep their money.
And here's the kicker: Luka never wanted to leave. despite what Nico Harrison claimed in the press conference.
There's other teams that were loading up, that he was going to be able to decide make his own decision at some point of whether he wants to be here or not.
Luka was happy in Dallas and had every intention of retiring as a Maverick.
Like you said, I thought I was going to spend my whole career there because I think loyalty is a big word for me.
$345 million over 5 years sounds like an absurd number, but with the rising salary cap, it won't seem so crazy once the new TV money kicks in. Besides, franchise players get paid. Just look at Jason Tatum. He just signed a $314 million Supermax extension. And let's be real, Luka is an even better offensive player than Tatum. The most surprising stat? Dallas actually had a better defensive rating with Luka on the court than without him, both last season and this season. So all that talk about Luka being a defensive liability? Yeah, that was a lie. Now let's compare what Dallas got for Luka versus what other teams received for their high-priced role players. Even Rudy Gobert, one of the most overrated defensive players in the NBA, fetched 3 rotation players and 5 first-round picks. Yes, you heard that right, 5 firsts for Gobert. And keep in mind, Luka isn't just better than any of these guys. He's a superstar and a proven performer on the biggest stage. And yes, I consider Paul George a high-priced role player, even during his OKC days. This might go down as the biggest trade blunder in recent memory, swapping a young superstar just entering his prime for an aging star in hopes of fast-tracking a championship. If history tells us anything, winning titles takes time. Nearly every NBA champion had to endure growing pains and playoff heartbreak before reaching the mountaintop. Look at the last few champions: Boston, Denver, Golden State, Milwaukee. Every one of them suffered brutal playoff losses before finally breaking through. Even LeBron's Heatles had to take a crushing finals loss to Dallas before winning it all the next year. And let's be real, recent attempts to shortcut a title by trading for aging stars have failed more often than not. Just ask Kevin Durant. He tried it in Brooklyn, it flopped. Then he forced his way to Phoenix. And that isn't exactly working out either. So if Dallas thinks this guarantees a championship, history says otherwise. Which brings me back to AD, because without LeBron, his playoff track record is underwhelming at best. In 13 seasons, Anthony Davis has yet to prove he can lead a team deep into the playoffs as the number 1 option. His performances have swung between Shaq-like dominance and barely noticeable nonchalance, something we've seen firsthand in recent playoff runs alongside LeBron James. Which brings me to my next point, the only way to justify this trade. Dallas has to win it all, not just make the finals, win the whole thing. And in a stacked Western Conference filled with younger, hungry contenders, that's a massive ask. And then there's Kyrie Irving, AD's new running mate. A guy who thrives as an off-ball scorer, just like he did in Cleveland alongside LeBron, and more recently in Dallas next to Luka. He'll be tasked to be the primary ball handler without Luka, and will face defenses like this.
115, 114 Sixers. Irving with 34.
Sixers wanted to double. He traveled.
Yeah, he did. It's a late whistle, but that's what it's for. Travel on Kyrie Irving. Sixers.
I know that AD averages over 25 points in the regular season, but will he be a consistent threat in the postseason? Can he summon the consistency needed from franchise players to carry their teams over the hump? And let's not forget the financial fallout, because Mavericks fans aren't just upset, they're furious.
That's the heart of the soul of Dallas, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't get it. Like, I thought it was a joke.
Losing 700,000 Instagram followers overnight is bad, but losing hundreds of season ticket holders? That's a full-blown financial disaster, especially for a team that isn't in a major market. This is the equivalent of Golden State trading a 25-year-old Steph Curry, or Denver shipping off Nikola Jokic for a 31-year-old Anthony Davis, just because they believe
defense wins championships.
If either of those teams pulled a move like that.
Very dangerous situation in that city.
Now imagine the financial hit, lost ticket sales, declining fan attendance, and a fan base that's checked out. At the end of the day, this trade doesn't make sense, not from a basketball standpoint, not from a financial one. Even with all the justifications Nico Harrison gave, nothing adds up, unless there's a deeper, more sinister reason behind it. Amidst all the chaos resulting from this trade, this tweet garnered a lot of attention from longtime Mavs fan Christopher Cradaville. What many NBA fans don't realize is that Mark Cuban quietly sold the majority stake of the Mavericks to the Adelson family, billionaires who built their fortune in the gambling industry as owners of the Sands Casino. Their goal? To transform Dallas-Fort Worth into a sports betting hub, starting with a brand new arena. The problem for the Adelsons? sports betting and gambling aren't legal in Texas. Despite their relentless and very expensive lobbying efforts, it looks like the latest bill will once again fail in 2025. The Adelsons need more leverage to get a gambling bill through the #TexasLeg, but they already donate more money to Texas politicians than literally anyone else, and they employ dozens of good lobbyists, the essay writes. So where the carrot has failed, they need a stick. That stick is the threat to move the Mavs to Vegas unless they get what they want. The Adelsons, owners of the Venetian, Sands casinos in Las Vegas and Pennsylvania, and multiple properties in Macau, already have a strong foothold in the gambling world. And with the NBA expected to expand to Las Vegas when it inevitably grows from 30 to 32 teams, they could have a natural home there. Which brings us to a wild conspiracy theory. What if the Mavs' new owners, who bought the team from Mark Cuban in 2024, don't actually care about basketball? What if their real motive was securing the massive gambling revenue they expected to cash in on? That part is already playing out. The Mavericks lost 700,000 Instagram followers overnight after trading their franchise star, and furious fans flooded the American Airlines Center in protest, calling out the front office for their decision. And this wouldn't be the first time something like this happened. Just look at the Raiders and Athletics relocating to Las Vegas, using a similar playbook. Another theory? Mark Cuban could buy back the Mavericks from the Adelsons once they've established their casino empire, or maybe, just maybe, LeBron James steps in. With ownership in his post-retirement plans, could he be eyeing a stake in a potential Las Vegas franchise? Even Ringer founder Bill Simmons addressed the conspiracy theory on his latest podcast, saying he's already heard it, and he loves it.
Favorite conspiracy
No,
Bill
my
theories?
favorite, I love this one, that the owners have always wanted the Vegas team, and their eventual goal is to basically flip franchises, move Dallas to Vegas so they can have their old casino thing. The expansion team that was going to go in Vegas would be the Dallas team. They'd pay whatever. And the first way to do this was to be basically to torpedo the Mavericks franchise relationship with their fans by trading Luka Doncic. And it's like, I have no notes. That's one of the best conspiracy theories I've ever heard.
Call it a conspiracy, but honestly, it's the theory that makes the most sense. Why else would you trade your franchise player, one of the league's best, a superstar who sells out arenas, drives season ticket sales, and moves jerseys, for a broken-down 31-year-old star nearing the end of his prime? A player with such a sketchy injury history that he earned the nickname Street Clothes for all the games he's missed. Amid all the chaos, one thing is clear. The Lakers just landed another generational talent. A Hall of Fame-level player who elevates his game when the lights are brightest, now paired with one of the greatest players in NBA history, even in his twilight years. Let's be real, the Lakers just secured their marquee player for the next decade. That's exactly why other GMs are outraged. It feels like LA was gifted a superstar entering his prime. Only time will tell if Luka and LeBron can develop the chemistry needed to take down teams like Boston, OKC, and the other top contenders, but one thing's for sure. No team wants to face a motivated Luka and a rejuvenated LeBron in a 7-game series.